The second game of this doubleheader. Game started a little late as Fat Kids lost an extra inning game to Iron on the other diamond. So that's why we got off to a late start. Here's Scott Gates, first hitter, high pop-up, and that ball is going to be caught by the center fielder. Only change that we're going to see in this game from the signature lineup is Tyler McCullough hurt a finger against the 45, so he's a scratch. So 1 up, 1 down, Scott Gates flies out, and here's Santos Macho Soto. So, you know, we told you that Iron team, they're finally going to get, and Macho drives it fair into the corner, bangs off at a foul pole, and he'll end up with a double. So you see they got that foul pole. Normally they play if it bounces over the fence and hits that, it's out of play for a ground rule double, but the umpire let the play continue. So Macho on second base now brings up Brandon Molina. So I think both the Fat Kids and Iron are both going to be improved. Iron's young pups are all going to finally be out of college, believe it or not. That's how young they are. So the back half of the season and going into mid-August, and Brandon drives a base hit that's going to score Macho, and the Fat Kids jump up 1-0. So I think the Iron squad should have everybody for the length of the entire season. So that'll be a plus for Danny Atkins. And then, you know, the Fat Kids keep finding good young players to bring out. And they had a real good year last year. They beat a couple of major teams along the way and did win a Class A national championship, glove style. So here's Anthony Mysek, Noach. Just underway, a little late, but we are underway. Wednesday night here in the city of Chicago. This game starting about 35-40 minutes late. And Noach, a little ground ball, Mahoney to Haas, and they spin the double play to get out of the inning. So nicely done there. You could see Mahoney took his time. Noach has got a lot of good attributes, but he's not the fleetest of foot. And Brian Haas took his time, very accurate throw there for the double play. So they do score 1, and we head to the bottom of the second. Again, this is Chicago's 16-inch style softball for those of you checking us out. Bases you can lead off, but you can't steal. 38 from the pitching rubber to the point of home plate. 6-12 on the arc. Because we're playing no glove, pitcher gets 1 step. 2 fakes or hesitation. Third arm action must be to deliver the ball home. A throw or a fake toward the base is one of your fakes or hesitations. We use heavy bats. They can weigh up to 38 ounces, 34 inches long, 2 1/4 on the barrel. This is one of our shortest diamonds that we'll play on, 210 down the lines, 235 to dead red. It's all turf, short fence out there, only about 3.5 feet high. Here's Marston. He's been wearing that out all night as he gets another hit up the middle. Danny took a real wide turn there. On Jeff Beto, I got to tell him, dude, where you running? So here comes Mark Menizzi, leadoff man on. And of course, because of the short dimensions, you only get 4 homers. Here's Menizzi, slow roller, and Boyle, Tom Boyle, a little bobble there. So trouble of brewing here.
Trying to work on the cut, not very good.
First two hitters on, brings up Mahoney. And we have a rough which comes into play. Here's Mahoney. And he drills it, and that's into the alley, and that's going to be a ground rule double. So temporarily we're tied at 1 as the ground rule double prevented Menizzi from scoring from first. And it brings up Scarlatta. I think Scar might try to go deep. Again, if you hit the rough in fair territory and it's caught before it hits the ground, you're out. If it hits the ground, it's all you can get as a runner. So here's Scarlatta. He homered in the first game. Wouldn't surprise me if he didn't try to go for it. Signature is a pretty good front runner. When they get out in front of you, they generally will turn the screws on you. And Scarlatta, though, he just humpbacks a hit. 2 runs are in, 3-1. And the Fat Kids had a very tough ball game that went extras with Iron. And Iron tied the game up in the 7th. That's Jeff Beto. And here's Matt Menizzi, fair down the left field line. And you could tell when they walked up to the field, they looked a little deflated. So we'll see if they have a hangover from a tough loss. Again, 2 runners on. Here's Pick. Three to nothing ball game here. And Pick rifles a hit. Diving attempt by the short center. Boyle, he can't get it. Another run's going to score. Runners on the corner. So one of the things that, here's Sherman Martin Jr. One of the things Signature did in between games, you know, sometimes at the Dome, they do give you some time to hit, but they took advantage of that half an hour. And that's off the roof, and right on the spot is Macho. And he makes the catch. He tracked it all the way. And we always talk about how if you're an infielder on any pop-up that might be destined to go to the outfield, you got to chase it just for that reason. And here's Brian Haas, and he tries to cut, and he delivers a hit. That'll drive in the 5th run of the inning. And this is the way Signature started out the last game against the 45s. They scored 5 in the bottom of the 1st. So here comes Marco. He is the 9th hitter of the inning. And Marco hits a fly ball, does not hit the roof, and it gets tracked and thrown in by the left fielder, Brandon Molina. So this is the 10th hitter of the inning. Signature has now gone through their entire lineup here. And it's Donnie Rollins, the pitcher. And there's a soft fly ball to right. Luke Lowry is there, and he puts it away for out number 3. So they spun the lineup there. They put in 5, and we're going to head to the top of the 2nd. So we appreciate you all tuning in as always. Nice to have you here. Hope wherever you're at, you got a beverage, maybe some popcorn. And if you're celebrating the Easter season,
Hey, he's got a good ball in your right hand.
I'd like to say Happy Easter. I was going to go get a picture with the Easter Bunny at the mall, but the lines have been very long. Of course, for you kids out there, the Easter Bunny, a good friend of mine. And he loves the SSA. So it's Nick Jones, Tom Boyle, and Bruce Lee coming up here. And Nick, a little ground ball to Scarlata, throws it right into the ground. Kind of an odd looking throw in motion there. His body was kind of contorted towards second. And instead of kind of getting himself lined up, he just kind of flipped a long bouncer. Guess it's okay here on the turf, but when you get outside on dirt, you don't want to rely on those kind of mechanics. So here's Tom Boyle. And Boyle, that hits the roof, and Mahoney, who was going out there to foul it, just like Macho Soto in the bottom of the first, here in the top of the second, he goes out there and he grabs it and brings up Bruce Lee. And I think the Fat Kids right now have a little bit of a hangover from that long extra inning loss to Iron. And that is the hard part when you're locked into a game and you're going back and forth, and that's what it looked like on that other diamond. And Bruce just fouled down that line. And you expend a lot of physical and emotional energy, and sometimes you get a little adrenaline, and then you come crashing down. And then you got to try to kind of gear it back up again, and that's why ideally you want your team to really get into the habit of playing on an even keel. We see a lot of teams that are roller coasters, and Bruce just punches it the other way. He gets a base hit there. So Bruce Lee with a hit. Boyle will come courtesy run, and here's Angelo Feliciano. I'd like to thank Sweet Buzz, one of our Summer Series anchor partners, and of course we threw that logo up because we're a month from the first Summer Series event. There's a ground ball to Scarlata, and again another little kind of fade long one hopper there. So I don't know if he hurt his arm or if he's just screwing around. So the Fat Kid's just a little flat right now. And Signature at the top of their lineup with Danny Marston. So we are a month away from the Westchester TOC. That is the first of the major tournaments for the summer. And the Summer Series, which is back and better than ever. Marston tries to go high, it's deep, but it'll stay in the park, and Molina at the wall puts it away for out number one. And we're looking forward to that event. And of course, Sweet Buzz, one of our anchor partners for that, and we are looking for a couple other corporate partners to jump in as anchors. Looking for two more. Here's Mark Menizzi, little ground ball to the second baseman. Nip him at first, so nicely done there by the second baseman. Rodriguez. So I believe that's Alex Rodriguez. No relation to Dodger A-Rod. Here's Mahoney, and he pops it the other way. Right on the spot is Molina. And Fat Kids really get what they needed badly, which was a goose egg. Let's see if they can start to get the energy level back up. So again, if you're interested in being a anchor partner for the summer series, reach out to the SSA. You can email me directly at george@ssasoftball.com. And we'd love to talk to you about coming in. We're doing great things for 16-inch softball. And the summer series has been a very exciting project that we launched last year, where we keep the stats and team standings, and we have leaderboards, and it's just been a terrific concept, as all of the major tournaments are allowing us to basically have our scorekeepers there, and of course we live stream from all of the events.
21!
So here's Alex Rodriguez, then it'll be Luke Lowry and the top of the lineup. And Alex did something the 45s couldn't do. Found a way to hit a ball up the middle past Mahoney, and he's not happy. He's telling his pitcher, that's my fault, I should have had it. He's what you call a greedy defender. He wants every ball hit to him. So here's Luke Lowry.
Right there, you're good.
Luke, young outfielder, but I like his game. He's very fast. He's getting better and better in the outfield, and seems like he's swinging the bat a little bit. I think because he's such a young kid, and certainly a young kid softball-wise, I think right now he's in the process of just building that confidence. And Luke slaps it. Mahoney, a little bobble, long throw, not in time. Spencer picked it up and fired it over here, but Luke can run. Didn't put his head down and pout because he didn't hit the ball he wanted. He ran hard, so the bottom two get on to feed your top. That's what you want in games like this.
He's on the liners!
And we'll see here, maybe an RBI hit, and we'll maybe really see the energy level go up. And Gates hits a knuckleball, and that's going to drop. Marco had a jump. One run is in. Now Gates is in a rundown, and I don't know if he tagged him. They called him out, but 2 runs do score. I'm not sure he got tagged there. I don't know if I got a replay on it. You can see here Gates was trying to get the runner to go, and oh, I tell you, if he tagged him, it was close. I don't think he did, and I'll tell you why. Because Brian Haas immediately, after he waved the tag at him, he immediately threw the ball to second. Now, sometimes you might say the guy did it because he didn't know if the umpire saw it, but I just think the way he reacted, I don't think he tagged him. So you guys can replay that at home. And here's Soto, and he drills a base hit. So the Fat Kids now showing some energy. And again, that was keyed off of Rodriguez and Lowry getting on base to start the inning at the bottom. So important for you kids. And nobody wants to necessarily hit 8th, 9th, or 10th. But if you're down there, your job is to get on base for the guys at the top. And there's a base hit by Molina. And so you can't pout with where you're at in the lineup. You gotta sit back and do your job. And every part of the lineup has their job. And we talk all the time when you play in games, especially against the big teams, you know, and when the big teams play, they understand how important the bottom part of the lineups are. I always kind of thought if you're in the starting lineup, that's all you should worry about. If you do well enough, you'll eventually get moved up if that's your goal. But you just got to do your job. So here's my set. A long one here could actually give the Fat Kids the lead. And Noach is certainly strong enough to do it. And I always thought Noach was a better hitter driving the ball toward right center. Because he's a big, long kid. And he doesn't have what I would call a short stroke. But when he waits a little bit longer, and there they tried the, he's no Angelo Feliciano out there. And Angie, one of the best, shaking his head. I think if I had to say right now, I think Angelo and maybe CJ might be the two best playing the game right now. And Noach, line drive, and Donnie grabs it, and that's going to be a double play. So nice play there. Looked like that was going to maybe be hit up the middle. Of course, you got Mahoney over there, but snagged, and then an easy double play at that point. And that'll end the inning. So the Fat Kids were looking real good there. Line drive, double play. Short circuits what could have been a bigger inning, but they do pick up a pair. They close to 5-3. So it's going to be Anthony Scarlata, Matt Menizzi, and Pick. Matt, the Fat Kids lost an extra innings, a heartbreaker, 16-14 to Iron. In a game, I believe Iron tied in the 7th to force extra innings. So here's Scarlata. And there he hits it right to Soto. Went down. Not sure if he was all the way down on a knee, but did bend down and catch that about 1.5 feet, 2 feet off the ground. So here's Matt Menizzi. And Matt, a little ground ball up the middle, Tommy Boyle, and that'll be out number 2. Brings up Chris Bakulas. So again, you only get 4 dingers, and tell you, this Pick really hits the ball hard, and that's a good example there. He just sat back and drilled it. You know, it's funny, I had a long talk with him at the beginning of the night, and he's got the biggest knob tape job on his bat that I think I've ever seen in 16-inch softball. So here's Sherman Martin Jr. I should have Pick bring that bat over. I think he'd get a kick out of it. And Sherman, that ball scrapes the roof, but they called it foul. like Sherman was trying to turn and burn here. Of course, they're up a deuce. And I did not change the inning. I believe this is the third. Ground ball to Boyle. Makes the catch. So I did not change the inning, but I believe we're actually in the fourth now.
Sir! Hit!
I usually can keep track because I make marks on the lineup card, so I know when the next hitter is, who's going to lead off. And I got 3 marks, so we got to be in the fourth. So leading off here is going to be Nick Jones, former Mudville guy. And we're going to slide up here. I gotta show you this bat for what Pick's got. Where's Pick's bat at with that fat knob at?
Right here. You can pick it up, you can have it.
Can you grab that for me, Jeff, and help a brother out? Yeah, I know, man. I feel you. And there's a long one hit out toward the alley, and nice catch. Sherman Martin played the infield last game, moved to the outfield, circled the wagons, and made a spectacular catch. Kid's an athlete.
Dave who?
So real quick, this is the tape job on Pick's bat. So that'll bring up Tommy Boyle. So Signature been playing good defense. Long throw. And they called him. So 2 outs there. Nice job there by Mark Menizzi, who has been a career outfielder, and Signature moved him back to first a little bit as they are back to third, and Matt's taken to it, and there's a soft line drive up the middle, caught. So halfway through, Signature leads by 2. So yeah, I was telling Pick that I had never seen anybody tape a handle quite like that. I'm not sure how he got it so perfectly circular, but very, very strange on how fat it is. Because when I played, I had a bat that was a flat knob. Of course, back in the 80s, you could walk into any sporting goods store and you could find bats, hundreds of bats, and all kinds of weights and barrel lengths in terms of not the bat in general, just the barrel. And there's a fly ball to Gates by Haas for out number 1. So I had a short-barreled Louisville Slugger with a flat knob, and it was 37 ounces then loaded. And I told Pick, I said, man, that's a big knob. I said, I had a flat knob. I used to tape my pinky and the finger next to it, and then my pointer and the... There's a nice job by Luke Lowry as he grabs it and stops Marco from getting on. So 2 up, 2 down. Here's Rollins. So I used to take that flat knob and put it right in between the 4 fingers. So 2 off, 2 on. And used to have that wedged into my palm. So he was looking at me funny, and there's a soft fly ball the other way, and Gates makes the catch. Throw out number 3, so Signature goes 3 up, 3 down. And even though we started late, this game is chugging right along, as we are in the 5th inning already. And I don't even know if this game's fully a half an hour old. Offense, 5-3. So it's going to be Angelo Feliciano, Alex Rodriguez, and Nick Lowry. And of course, Rodriguez and Lowry started that 2-run inning they had. And if it wasn't for the line drive double play, Fat Kids might have done a little more damage there. So here's Angelo. And Angelo overhand cut, and he flipped it just over the top of Mahoney. Mahoney was way back playing it. Couldn't get there. Looked like a quarterback throwing over the linebacker in front of the safety. And here's Alex Rodriguez. So Tom Boyle getting a courtesy run. Luke Lowry on deck. And Rodriguez, a slow roller, and good job of running there by Boyle. You saw there, it wasn't hit hard, it was a turf hugger. And Mahoney just made sure he was going to get one out. He knows Rodriguez can run. And it brings up Luke Lowry. Looming. This would be a nice hit and continue that trend of the bottom portion of the lineup pitching in. And we have seen Luke hit some line drives, and there, good job there by Boyle. There was a line drive and he wasn't going anywhere. And he made the catch, and they'll bring up Gates. I have seen Gates hit a home run in this park, so that's certainly an option.
Go, Scott. Go in there, Tom. Watching the pitcher.
And Gates' wicked line drive, he draws drive in the run. So again, Spencer's been kind of shading and playing up the middle a lot. He pulled that through that hole. And again, I'm behind on the innings. Sorry, folks. And it brings up Macho Soto. Well, a lot of guys do end up having to tape them. And Soto slashes it the other way, fair ball. And that's going to be a ground rule double, and that is just bad luck. You see right where the fence ends, down here they got a screen, a netting screen that keeps the ball from rolling out of play, but down here, down the left field line, it's wide open. So just bad luck. If that fence would have been all the way to the wall, would have scored a run, and Soto might have ended up with a triple. So here's Brandon Molina, second and third, 5-4, long one, put him ahead, and Brandon has more than enough to get out of here. Noach on deck. So I don't know if he really wants to pitch to Molina, but loading the bases is always dangerous because you got a power hitter, and there's a long, he hit it hard, didn't elevate it though, and Mahoney makes the play. So they only get one, but they creep a little closer, and we go to the bottom of the fifth, 5-4. Signature right now kind of getting lulled to sleep a little bit. They have the top of their lineup coming up with Marston, Manizzi, Mahoney.
That's only a double. If it goes down the line, it goes out. I thought it was like a triple or
So here comes Marston. I was hoping somebody was watching on YouTube to see how the microphone sounded. I changed the battery pack out to see if that was causing a little interference. But I haven't seen any comments from anybody watching on YouTube. So if you're out there, let me know how the mic sounds. So here's Marston. He draws the dreaded leadoff walk, and with this lineup in this short field, you don't want to give any free bases. And Manizzi goes the other way, and Nick Jones. Ball bounced up. Nick couldn't handle it. And first two runners on. And here's Mahoney. So Mahoney takes a strike. And that pitch is a little deep. Full count now. So Angelo and Jeopardy are walking him full here. And there's a high fly ball. It does hit the roof. Lowry stayed with it, and it hit the roof just enough to prevent it from getting out of here. And Lowry stayed right with it. Runners now on the corners here with one out. Double play to get the fat kids out of this. Scar, big pop. And he flattened out and he hit a rocket, but nicely done by Molina, although a run will score. So he hit that ball really hard, just didn't elevate. And it brings up Manizzi now with 2 outs. His brother's at first, and he'll be running on the swing. And there's a line drive, and Nick Jones put his hands up. The ball squirted through. And here comes Pick, and again with 2 guys on late in the ball game. If your signature, you'd like to see Pick go yard here and get a little more separation in the ball game. And Pick a rocket, and Macho Soto makes the catch. So that ball was stung. Again, we're seeing some really hard-hit balls, but we're not seeing anybody elevate. So we're going to head to the 6th now. It's going to be Noach, Nick Jones, and Tom Boyle. Signature lead 6-4. 10-1 in the other game down there. There's a towering fly ball by Noach. Sherman Martin right at the about 7 or 8 feet in front of the wall makes the catch. Not sure who's winning that. 45's an iron. Iron in the field right now, so I guess if there's 3 outs there and they all walk off the field, then we'll know. So here's Nick Jones. And Nick, a hard ball. Scar, another long bounce, not in time. So Scar been bouncing him over here. Didn't quite get away with it there. 1 out, 1 on for Tommy Boyle.
Last year you would have been out. Oh shit.
And Nick has dropped a few pounds. You know, Rader was telling me that. He does look thinner. He just told Nick last year you'd have been out. Here's Boyle. He goes hard, but right at Marco. No tag. That'll be 2 outs, and it brings up Bruce Lee. So it looks like the 45s are in the field, which means they must be winning that game 10-1. So they're going to come back and get a split.
21!
Iron's going to end up splitting on the day. And unless this score changes here, looks like Signature's going to win 2. Fat Kids may drop 2. Bruce grounds that ball foul, so we'll redo it. I'm looking ahead here. If Bruce can't keep this inning alive, Fat Kids will have the bottom third of their lineup. Angelo, Alex, and Luke in the 7th. And they've actually been generating base runners from down there, so I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. So full count, everybody running. Sherman was playing him short, but he recovers and makes the over-the-shoulder catch, and then he jumps over the wall. So he was really tight. Bruce was trying to beat him over the top. And Sherman Martin makes the over-the-shoulder circus catch and then jumps over the fence. So bottom of the 6, 6-4 here. Bruce gave it a ride, just couldn't get it out of here. And it's going to be the aforesaid Sherman Martin Jr., Brian Haas, and Marco. The Fat Kids, and there's a hard base hit. They gave up 5 in the bottom of the 1st. It looked like maybe early, but they settled in. Right now they're only down 2. Certainly would like to get to the 7th without any more damage. And there's a high fly ball. It's going to stay in the park. Gates with the catch. And that's 1 out. Ryan Haas has got a lot of power, but he's starting to really kind of focus on that overhand hard like cut over the infield. And for as big and strong as he gets, he's starting to get a little inconsistent in terms of driving gaps.
You ready to go?
And because it's a different motion, a different setup in the stands, you know, you've probably heard me many times. And Marco drives it, Gates on his horse makes it look easy, and he'll throw it in, no advancement. So Scott Gates covering a lot of ground out there. It's going to bring up the pitcher, Donnie Rollins. So the Fat Kids are an out away here from getting to the top of the 7th, only down a pair. And that's a one hopper to Nick Jones. He handles it, and that'll be the 3rd out. So do or die 7th coming up here. For the Fat Kids, they need 2 to tie, 3 to take a lead. Anything less, and Signature will have won a doubleheader. It's always interesting. I think one of the things that's always interesting real early in the year is that guys aren't going to be used to playing on dirt. The guys that played indoors, whether it was here, intentional, Aurora, GoPro, are going to have to relearn how to catch the ball on dirt without getting the predictable hop most of the time here. And throwing the ball too outdoors versus indoor with wind and what have you. And here's Feliciano, ground ball, and that'll be out number 1. The other thing is, if we get outside when the weather heats up on a warm day, that first warm day or warm weekend is always a little bit of a shock to the system. And running on dirt versus running on turf is different. So pull hamstrings and what have you. So that first initial part of the outdoor season is always a little interesting.
Two. Good idea, Donnie. Good idea.
And both pitchers, Angelo did it last inning. Donnie tried to do it there. The catch and pitch with no presentation. Alex Rodriguez takes that pitch a little deep. And he draws a 1-out walk. So very good patient at bat by the youngster. And that's going to bring up Luke Lowry. And no, Angelo is not courtesy running for Alex Rodriguez. So here comes Luke Lowry. And Luke swings, but didn't quite get enough. So he got a low pitch, and he was trying to golf it down that line. So 2 outs now. Alex Rodriguez will be running on the swing. Scott Gates. I think Jeff Baytall is going to come out here and maybe try to remind Donnie that Gates has got enough to get out of here. And of course, so does Macho Soto. Brandon Molina. These are basically the home run threats coming up right now. And you could go all the way down to Noach at 4. Scott Gates can run, and so can Rodriguez. So as an infielder, you got to be aware of that too. And Gates swings. Did he get it? Way back. He did, and we're all tied at 6. Down to their last out. Scott Gates drives one out of here. So whatever Jeff Baytall told him, I would recommend not using that verbiage the next time you go out and talk to your pitcher. And I didn't say it before, but you know, Donnie was kind of cruising along, and sometimes you break up that rhythm, and maybe you put a thought in your head. Now somebody tries to be perfect, and all of a sudden, you know, ball gets grooved. Now, if I'm the Fat Kids, I wouldn't be happy at 6 because Signature will be at the start of the top of their lineup, and they got nothing but guys that can go yard. Soto trying to go the oppo spins it foul. So if you're the Fat Kids, even though there's 2 outs here, you still got to think in terms of get as much as you can. Ground ball to Menizzi. So we're going to head to the bottom of the 7th. We're all tied up. And the question is, how are the Fat Kids going to play their second extra inning game of the night, or is Signature going to walk them off here? Then you got Marston, Danny Marston, Marky Menizzi, Spencer Mahoney. So we're all tied up here. I don't know what's going on there. You know, that might not have been the 7th. It's 13-1. I thought that game was over. That scoreboard's inning has been popping in and out. I don't know if there's a problem with the light bulbs, but they're still playing down there. But at 13-1, so here's Marston. He scalds it. Soto throws. What a play by Soto as the umpire calls him out. He goes way up the middle, contorted himself, and threw a strike to first. Spectacular play by Macho Soto. And it was bang bang, no doubt about it. Here's Menizzi. Of course, if you're Signature, you only need 1 run. And Markey flares that foul. So you do got Mahoney coming up. Even if Menizzi makes it out here. We are live from the Rosemont SSA Game of the Week. Doubleheader today. This is the nightcap, if you will. 10:37 in the Chicago area. So here's Menizzi. He pops it up. Lowry is there. He takes charge. 2 outs. So it's up to Mahoney to either keep the inning alive or end the game. And I think what they're going to talk about is maybe actually walking Mahoney. But with Scarlata on deck, it's pick your poison. And then you got Matt Menizzi. Then you got Paculas. These next 4 hitters can all go yard. And Scar tends to go yard more than Mahoney out here. And right now, I can tell you what's going on. Bruce is saying, should we walk him? And Noach is saying, what's the difference? These guys can all go yard. And Rader's looking at the lineup card and shaking his head saying, I don't know. So they're waving hands, they're doing all kinds of stuff over there. And Noach says, whatever. And he's walking over there. In a situation like this, you got to ask Angelo, what do you want to do? He's the guy throwing the ball. So Bruce says he'd have walked Spencer and Scar to get to Matt. And now they are going to walk Spencer. Let's see if they're going to. Now, they walk Spencer. This could be the unintentional. Let's see how Angie. No, he's going after it. Scar, ground ball. Soto goes the short way. Free softball in Rosemont. We'll head to the extra innings. So, nice job there by Angelo. As we're going to head to the 8th. Fat Kids playing their second extra inning ball game of the night. And that's a good job. You walk Spencer, and Scar was chomping at the bit. But realistically, if you're Scar there, because Spencer can run, tall kid, long strides, you don't necessarily need a home run there. A long stretch single with 2 outs, and Spencer's probably scoring. So here comes Brandon Molina, Anthony Mysek, and Nick Jones. So the Fat Kids weathered that 5-run first. They've only given up a run since. And they worked their way in, slow but sure. Big blast in the 7th from Scott Gates to tie the game with 2 outs. And Molina tops it over to Scar, and he throws it over for out number 1. So Brandon got a lot of pop, but he just seems like he was pulling off the ball most of the day. And just couldn't really elevate anything. So here's Anthony Mysek. And Noach pounds it. Scar the throw. A little, he called him safe. We'll take a look at that. It looked like he may have pinned that ball up against his bicep. The only thing I can think of is if the umpire maybe thought, no, he was on the bag. So it did look like Menizzi recovered there. It looked like he had that ball pinned with his hand up against his bicep, or upper bicep. And here's Nick Jones, the courtesy run with Molina. Brandon can scoot. I don't like the way he sets up, though. He gets way in front of the plate, which sets up a weird angle going to second. Nick Jones up against the roof. It'll stay in play. There's the tag, but he doesn't go. 2 out. Brings up Tommy Boyle. So Nick Jones was trying to leave the yard. Ball got up near the roof, didn't hit it, but just didn't have enough. So here's Tom Boyle. Bruce Lee on deck. And Boyle a high fly ball. That's going to stay in the yard. Martin is there. And now we head to the bottom of the 8th. Any kind of a run wins it for signature. So it looked like Boyle and Nick Jones both were trying to go yard there. And we're going to have Matt Menizzi, Chris Pakulas, and Sherman Martin. And we know Pick has got enough to get out because at the Westchester TOC, where they got 300-foot fences, he's gone yard there. So looking ahead to the 9th, if we get there, it's going to be Bruce Lee, Angelo Feliciano, and Alex Rodriguez. And that's a big if. And Menizzi slaps it right over the base, leadoff single. And here comes a big problem if you are a fat kid with Pick. Again, you're in a different situation if you're Signature because you got nobody out. If Pick gets a hit. And he tried to go for it. It scraped the roof. And Gates can't recover. Menizzi goes into third. So Pick was trying to go for it. What I was trying to say is you're in a different spot because if he gets a hit and Matt would have got over to third, then you're looking at a walk to load him and a fly ball and the game's over. Here's Sherman Martin. In a weird way, the base hit is better for you if you're the fat kids. Or I should say it hitting the roof was okay. Sherman Martin taking a couple of balls here. If you're Angelo, you don't want to load him up. And Sherman Martin delivers. Menizzi going to make the turn, throw to the plate. Strong one. They were conservative there. There was no reason to send them. First three hitters on, and Brian Haas, a fly ball, and this game's over. Bottom of the eighth. So again, if you're an outfielder, if you can't throw somebody out, you are too deep. And Haas delivers a line drive. Molina, the throw is right on the money. Brandon Molina, no possible way that Menizzi could score. Haas hit an absolute rocket. Molina had moved in. And let me tell you, when I tell you this was a strong throw, it was a strong throw. So now there's one out. And here's Marco, infield tight, outfield's creeped in. And Marco hits it. This will end the ball game. Gates will make the catch. Easy tag. Marco comes through. And I got to tell you, if you're the fat kids, you lost two heartbreakers tonight, but you hung right in there with one of the best teams in 16-inch softball after trailing early 5-1. They forced extra innings. They just didn't have enough to get over that hump. So on behalf of SSA Broadcast, we hope you enjoyed the telecast. We'll be back next week, and I do believe it'll be playoffs out here. So we'll see you all next week, and you never know when I might pop up with a little something extra. So we'll catch you later, folks. Thanks.